Okay, folks, let's pick it up where we left off. We've collected a bunch of images, and now we want to sort of put them together, stitch them together into a Photoshop document. So the document that we need to create a document. So we're gonna this time we in the last class and in the last assignments we opened up an existing document, but this time we'll create a new document. So under the File menu, we go to New, and we can give it a name if we want. I'll call it Project One. Project One. Okay. And the size is 5 by 5. Now this is kind of arbitrary, but I want it to be a relatively small document just so we can um, email it back and forth without any issues. So it's going to be 5 by 5 inches, and the resolution is it's considered medium. So it's not 72, it's not 300, it's not 72 for the web. We can make it 72 for the web, but it's not super high quality resolution for print purposes. So we'll just make it 144. Keep the color mode of RGB, 8-bit, and I hit the create button. Okay, and it creates a document. Now I'm going to expand my window, and I'm going to enlarge the canvas just so it's a little bit larger on my screen. All right, now it's blank, okay? And if we see over here under the layers panel, now this is something that's brand new to us. So now we haven't really talked about this at all, but under the Windows menu, there's what's called, these are all the layers, and we'll talk about what all these various layers do, or at least some of them, okay? But the one that we're gonna focus on today is called layers, okay? And so we'll go to the layers menu, the layers panel under the window menu, and by default a new document has just a background. Okay, well we want to add layers. Okay, every individual edition of an image will be a layer. So in order to do that, and we'll manipulate the layers, and we'll be able to select parts of the pixels and remove them or change them, and we'll be able to move the layers around so we can make our collage. Okay, we may use the cropping tool that we worked with last time. We'll definitely be using the magic wand tool that we worked with. Okay, and then the cropping tool is basically a selection tool. And so if you know how to use that, then you know how to, you can use the marquee tool is basically for selections as well. And then the top tool here is what's called the move tool, and that allows us to move content around, move the images around move the layers around within the document. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to actually find the content, to bring it into the document. So under the File menu, I go down to Place Embedded. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a file sort of within this file, and it's going to be embedded into it. It's going to be part of it. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to do this, but I'm going to just use the place method. Okay, so I click place, and then I find the image that I want to place, and I find it, and you need to backtrack through your hard drive to find out where you placed it, and that's why we created that images folder and put them all in the images folder so we would know where they were. Otherwise, we could just have clicked the desktop folder or the desktop location, and they could be there, but they could be a bit scattered. So um, that's why I had you create a Project One folder and then an image folder within that. Okay, so I select one of the images. Okay, and I click on place. Okay, now what happens is that the image gets placed, and you'll notice that over here in the layers panel, okay, we have a new layer. Okay, so these are two separate layers. Almost you could imagine them as being stacked. Okay, and the image that gets placed on a new layer has what's called a free transform uh, sort of bounding box around it. That's what it's called. And it has this free transform box has handles. Okay, and if we click on the corner handles and we can scale it up okay? And we can click on the side, that also scales it up. If we hold down the shift key, then we stretch it. And now generally you don't want to stretch images because the distortion could ruin their integrity. So so I'm gonna scale it up. So on my first image is of artwork, and I'm gonna use the artwork as my background, okay? And so once we're done, I'm gonna hit the return key, and that's gonna set my free transform. Okay, so hit the return key, and it gets free. The free transform frame goes away, and there's the layer. So now I go to an. Let me drop in another. Okay, let me go to place embedded, and I'll just demonstrate this with maybe two. I'm gonna select the hammer, okay, because the hammer is like I like to do woodworking, so I have a hammer represents that for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit place, okay, and I hit return, okay, and I have this big white background, okay. Now we remember from the last assignment that you can use the magic wand tool to select the background, okay, and then you can hit and that's going to select the pixels of a similar color. So I click on the white, and it's going to select all the white pixels around it, okay, and then if I want, then I hit delete. Actually, no, it's literally it's a smart object because I pasted it. I embedded it. Okay, so I do the same thing sort of separately, and when it's a smart object, it opens in a separate window. So I can do that in a separate window, and then I have to save this file. Hit save, and then I go back and I see that it's been saved. But that's what makes this a smart object. And let me do the same thing here. I'm going to select more of the shadow because I want to get rid of all the shadow. Okay, and then hit Command S, or under the file menu, go down to save, Command S. Okay, and then that saved this smart object, and then the smart object it shows it. So now I didn't lose the pixels. They're there, but they're on the separate layer. So now I have this selection going on, and I go into the selection menu, and I go to deselect. Selection, deselect, Command D. Okay, and then what I want to do is move this element so I can. Oh, so I make sure I select the right layer, and then I can move the image on the layer. Okay, and if I want to, I can do that I can put the free transform tool on if I want to scale it, size it down, or if I want to rotate it. So that would be going to Command T to the free transform tool, and then I'm able to scale it up or down. Okay, I can even rotate it if I want to. Okay, and then again, just like before, hit the return key, and that will set it in. Okay, so here we created a Photoshop document to certain dimensions, and again, these dimensions are on the Blackboard shell. Okay, we placed one layer, one image down, and it was the background layer. Okay, and then we also placed a second image down, and that was the layer in front of the background. Now it was a smart object, so what I did was um, I double clicked on it, and you can tell it's a smart object because it's got the little icon in the lower right hand corner. Okay, and that opens up a separate tab, and that on that tab I'm able to then do the selection and select the background and delete the background or do whatever I need to do. But then if I save that smart layer, okay, then it gets applied over to here. Okay. Okay, we're going to need to know that especially when we do mock-ups. Okay, and we'll talk about what that means later. All right, so here we have one graphic, okay, and we basically just continue doing this sort of thing, and working with the free transform tool and composing your content in a way that where there's a sense of visual unity among the pieces, and then just arrange them so there's some kind of aesthetic consideration to how they're connected to each other, and I think that will probably put us in a good place. Okay, okay. So let me know if you have any questions.